Question. I like to start the videos off with a question to start you to thinking. So, question, when was the last time you checked on your deed? When was the last time you checked to ensure that maybe a family member of yours, someone who's elderly, who owns a home, have you checked to see if their deed is still in their name? Have you ever heard of deed theft? Deed theft is real, and it's an issue that is becoming a bigger and bigger problem. And cities are trying to find ways to stop it, but they're still working out all of the kinks. I found a news report out of Philly that discusses deed theft, and they go over ways that the city is trying to stop it and ways that they are trying to help homeowners to stay in their homes.
Janet Fluellen's family has called this corner on the edge of Germantown home for more than 3 decades.
That's me and my dad.
Her dad bought the house in the late 70s, and these Fluellens, who all have names starting with J,
Janet, Jerry, Julie, Johnny, and Jackie. Julie lives here next door.
So when one day a letter arrived saying her family was being ejected, thrown out, she was stunned.
And I'm like, that's crazy. I was like, it's got to be some mistake.
But then Janet saw the deed. The house had been sold to a company for $30,000 by another person with the last name Fluellen, and it was on behalf of Janet's dead father. But there were 2 problems. First, remember Janet's family tree? Well, the seller's name began with a D, not a J.
Because I was like, no, all of her names begin with a J.
Oh, and one other thing. Is your dad dead?
No, my dad is not dead.
We called to make sure.
We heard much about it.
But according to the city of Philadelphia, the property was no longer theirs.
I've heard about fraud, but I was like, how could somebody actually do that until it happened to me?
Janet believes she was a victim of deed fraud. Wrongdoers will pretend to be the owner of a home or a plot of land. They'll then forge a deed and either fake a notary stamp and signature or get a real notary to sign off. Then they sell the property for profit.
Very focused effort.
Jim Leonard is Philadelphia's Commissioner of Records. His office is responsible for keeping track of tens of thousands of deed transactions in the city every year. Leonard says reported fraud cases rose dramatically in 2018 and 2019, but then
And think about what was going on in 2018 and 2019. So I got in the industry in 2013, right pretty much at the tail end of the 2008 through 2010 mortgage debacle. Home prices were still low through 2015, but then around 2016, 17, 18, and definitely in 19, prices shot up. And not just home prices shot up, but development deals, investors started getting more into developing different neighborhoods, moving out of the higher price neighborhoods and looking to get into lower price neighborhoods where they can buy low, fix the house up, and then sell it for more. A lot of that was going on between 2018, 2019, and even into 2020.
and fell significantly in 2020 and 2021.
There's a strong likelihood that COVID has influenced a reduction, at least somewhat, in the numbers.
The district attorney's office.
So remember, this video is 3 years old. So we're in 2026. So let's say this video came out around 2023. So they really didn't have a lot of information, right? They couldn't, enough time hadn't passed by the time this video came out.
Office believes we're going to see a spike in cases now that things are getting back to normal.
This is a big problem.
Kimberly Essak is the supervisor of the Economic Crimes Division of the DA's office. The prosecutor believes there are likely hundreds of Philly properties that have already been stolen, and the owners have no idea.
There are literally people who go out, and that is their job, is to circle around the city and find and look for homes to steal.
So that is called, for an investor, from an investor perspective, that's called driving for dollars. So they'll have either drivers go out or some low-end investors do it themselves. They go out, they drive around these neighborhoods, and they look for properties that are distressed, meaning properties that look abandoned, properties that need work, where you see the steps are cracked, the windows may be cracked, the paint may be chipping, the lawn may not have been taken care of. It doesn't mean that these properties aren't being lived in. It could be that it's an elderly person who doesn't have the means to fix it up, but it also doesn't mean that that person wants to move or doesn't want their home. It just means they don't have the means to fix it up. Maybe they're saving and to fix it up. We don't know, but there are people who literally drive around, and especially in areas that haven't been renovated, areas that haven't been, I hate to use the word gentrified, but basically that areas where they haven't been, there's not a lot of renovation going on. You may see one or two renovation projects going on, but those are the type of neighborhoods that investors like, because they know that they can go in and buy something at a lower price, fix it up, and sell it for a higher price.
The last few years, the DA's office filed more charges for these types of crimes, including in January against a ring of deed fraudsters.
So they'll target those areas where they know that new construction is going to come in, they can get the money for it and run.
But the DA's office could not say how many deed fraud convictions it has secured in total.
I think it's sort of chasing a whack-a-mole a little bit.
Yeah.
You try to close down one
and they
avenue
pop up
of
somewhere
deed fraud
else,
and they think of another.
Judy Berkman chairs the Deed Fraud Task Force, made up of Philadelphia attorneys, law enforcement, and other stakeholders. They haven't published their final recommendations to fight deed fraud, but Berkman says the groups advocated for stricter state notary regulations, educated judges on the issue, and fought for change on the city level. Both Berkman and the city point to Fraud Guard, a free service you can sign up for that alerts you if there have been changes to your deed. But fewer than 2,000 Philadelphia property owners have signed up.
Now, this is something that's in Philadelphia. It may be something that's across the country, but if it's not, you may have something similar in your area. That's why I started the video off by asking, when was the last time you checked on your deed? More and more municipalities are recognizing that deed fraud is on the rise, and they are creating systems where you can monitor your deed. Some municipalities have a system that once you register, if there's any changes, you automatically get a notification. So if you don't live in Philadelphia, you should check to see if your area has such a system that you can register your home and register yourself as the owner and get notifications if something should change with your deed.
Since the program started in 2019.
Not as many as I'd like.
Yet Leonard hopes a similar program coming out this spring targeting notaries will help. Every time a local notary stamp is used, that notary will get an alert.
It's worth me keeping it.
Janet finally got a lawyer.
So notary, and I'm happy that they brought this up. So notary is very important when it comes to real estate. A lot of documents cannot be recorded at the county clerk's office without them being notarized. So the notary is an important factor when it comes to deed theft. And I'm happy that they brought it up, because these notaries need to be punished just as much as the person who was stealing the. Recently in New Jersey, there was a case of deed theft in Bergen County, and they caught the notary and the person who was stealing the deed. The notary helped the person to forge the documents by notarizing a forged document. That person then took the document and recorded it at the county clerk's office. So both of them were charged and arrested for deed theft, the notary and the person stealing the deed.
And after 3 years in court, she was able to get her family back on the deed.
I'll pass it down to one of my children.
For the investigators, Danny Freeman, NBC 10 News.
It's important to note that if you are a homeowner, you really, really, really need to stay on top of your deed. And as they said in the video, she ended up getting an attorney. I'm a huge opponent of having money for attorney fees. Sometimes people like to do things on their own, and that's fine. You may be able to do it on your own and get a result, but don't risk it. Every state has different statutory time frames when it comes to certain things. You don't want to waste too much time trying to do it yourself and not getting the optimum result. Sometimes it's better to hire someone who knows the laws that can get the result quicker. I hope this information was useful. Stay tuned for more videos.